7:30. Well, welcome, Amish Shah, to our Ayurveda Association of Florida Zoom presentation. We have these occasionally, and the last time we had this, it was two people that had written books on nutrition, and it was Dr. Jane and Dr. Rupali Panzi, and we had a nice discussion of different Ayurvedic approaches to nutrition. What we would like to do tonight is well, it's your afternoon because you're in San Diego. So
Yeah, oh, that's true. Didn't think about that.
it's your afternoon and our evening. What we would like to do is to hear about your journey and what brought you to do a whole documentary. And it took you, what, 10 years?
Yeah, 10 years.
To
Yeah,
do this documentary on your journey with your health, your wellness, your
yeah,
issues with your life, and that you're sharing this with the world. And the Ayurveda Association of Florida is very honored that you took this time. I know you presented at our National Association of Ayurvedic Medical Association in April. And Anisha, who you met, had told us about you, and we were thinking, fantastic, if we can get you to speak. And we're in conjunction with the National Consortium of Ayurvedic Medicine, NCAM, and we're having a conference in late October in Orlando, and we're hoping that you will get on the program there and be able to show the documentary. I'm not on the events committee for the NCAM, but I know that there are some people that are listening tonight and are on that would maybe be able to push towards that. So
very, that'd be
at
cool.
this point, we would like to have you begin, and you're going to not need a PowerPoint presentation. This is all from, this is near and dear to your heart, so you don't need a PowerPoint. But
Yeah,
we're ready to hear whatever you have to tell us.
okay. Well, thank you for having me, first of all. Very honored. This is all, has been coming together so serendipitously, magically. I know there's no such thing, but I feel like I've aligned with something that is deeper inside of me, and that has to do with Ayurveda. So, the story goes basically that ever since I was a kid, as long as I can remember, to be honest with you, when I was young, used to always complain about stomach issues, always. And I used to get like patches of like dry skin on my face and my arms and just randomly on my body. And we would go to the doctors, and of course, there's either like, hey, there's nothing wrong with you, you just have a stomach ache, go home, take some Pepto-Bismol, and you'll be fine. And for the eczema patches and some of this stuff, here's a little cream, everything will go away. And sure enough, I would still complain. My stomach hurts, my head hurts, my nose is hurting. I would get bloody noses often. And again, the Western medical system didn't have any answers for me. Now, my parents grew up with Ayurveda. I am Indian. I was born in New Jersey, but my parents are from India. And they moved here in 1977, 76, something like that. And, they understood like the home remedies. They understood what you need to do when you have a stomach ache. They understood what you need to do when I get a sprained ankle or wrist. They'd wrap it with turmeric paste. They wouldn't use like the other stuff that the Westerners would use, like wrap it with a bandage. Yes, but before that was a nice big turmeric paste make my whole entire wrist yellow, and everyone would laugh at me at school. So it was interesting that they understood what Ayurveda was, but they didn't actually know that this is Vata, or this is Pitta, or this is Kapha. It was just like, this is what we're taught growing up. So that's the way I was growing up. Now, it was difficult for me growing up in America because I was like, okay, well, here's basketball and pizza, and then here is the sabji and the shak and everything that my mom was making. So we'd have a traditional Indian meal at least 4 to 5 times a week for dinner, at least. And so that would be a vegetable dish, a salad, a roti, and a lentil dal soup, basically. And that was my food almost every single day. And then every Friday was like pizza day, or my mom would make tacos one day. And it was like once, maybe twice a week, I would have like something outside of the norm. So I think, with that being said, that was kind of keeping me healthy. Now, we had no correlation of what I was eating and what was causing my stomach pain. Again, it was just like random stomach pains, and okay, that's what you do. You get random stomach pains. That went on throughout my younger age, all the way until my teenage years. And at some point, as you get older, you just start suppressing some of the pain. You're like, oh, whatever, like this is gonna happen. And then, my stool wasn't like, my movements weren't proper, and there wasn't much still in my teenage years that I could do. It was just something that I just kind of put on the side, and I was like, oh, this is just normal to get stomach aches every now and then. It's fine, right? And so when I had turned around 16, 17, so junior, senior year in high school, I got my license, my friends got their licenses, and with that, as you know, you start eating out more. So McDonald's, more pizza, all the cheap foods as a, as a teenager, and that led to more consumption of foods maybe outside of the normal diet that I was eating at home. So that continued, and then I developed vitiligo. And once I started getting vitiligo, I was probably like 17 or 18, somewhere in that range, 17, I think. And I got it right under my eye here, and then I got another patch like right here actually, and so it was on my face. It was scary, to be honest with you. And so people would like look at me and they'd make fun of me, and you know how it is growing up in this country. Especially back then, vitiligo is accepted. Now, back then, it was like you have an issue, you have a problem. I had to hide.
Watch it.
And so for me, it was, again, I didn't know what was going on. I had gone and seen Western doctors, and they're like, oh, this is vitiligo. We don't really know why it happens or what's causing the vitiligo, but try this cream. The cream didn't work, of course. Then I started complaining about how I was feeling depressed and I wasn't feeling happy anymore. And they're like, okay, well, here's some Wellbutrin, antidepressant. And so I dabbled in some of this stuff in my early 20s, and none of it really was working for me. So I put it aside, and for my vitiligo, I ended up getting UV treatment, which is a very sharp and like a laser treatment on my near my eye right here, which was actually kind of scary. Didn't fix the problem. Although it made the spot dark, it didn't actually fix the color. It just actually made it darker than the rest of my skin. So it looked weird. It looked like a dark and light and kind of like mixed up. So there I was in my early 20s, and I actually was going to school. I graduated, and then I got a job. And of course, while I'm working and all that stuff, you eat whatever you want, right? You're in your early 20s, you're drinking, you're partying, you're eating what you want. I lived the American life, literally. I mean, I wasn't an Indian anymore at that point, and I ate whatever I wanted to. In my early 20s also, around 23, 24, I started kind of experimenting online. So this is in 2002. And in 2002, it was still like the beginning of the internet. And I was just like, oh my God, I want to quit my job, and I'm going to make money on the internet. I'm going to figure out how to quit my job. And that was like my goal, because again, what does the Western system say? Make money, and you have to be rich, and that's how you're going to beat the system, and just be rich, go make a bunch of money, and that's what girls like, and then that's what people respect, and that's how you gain your status in society. So that's what I thought the answer was, to be honest with you. So I did. I went online, I figured out how to make money, and at 24, 25 years old, I had made my first $1 million online. So you can imagine, in 2004, when I'm 24, I made $1 million, and I was still working my job actually while I was doing this, and I quit my job at that point. And now here I was with $1 million business. Now I wasn't all profit, but I was making good money, way more than my company, that I was being paid at my company. So I quit, and then I just took on this business. And that business continued to grow and grow and grow and turn into a very, very highly successful software company, to the point where we actually had to split the company into 3 different companies, and each of them were doing well over millions of dollars. So I had a portfolio of companies at the age of 28 that were producing millions of dollars. 2 software companies, and I guess you can call it like an advertising network to some extent. And so I was super young, and as the money started kind of rolling in, somewhere along the way, I moved to California, and I started living a very maybe outlandish lifestyle. I started, drinking more. I started partying more, staying up late. I started eating exactly whatever I wanted to again, even more so. And I had all the stress from the three different businesses. I had my overhead and my personal life was ridiculous. I had a house in La Jolla that was 6,000 square feet. It had a pool on the roof, a theater, an elevator. I had a Ferrari, I had a Maserati, and like $20,000 watches, and I didn't think what was happening to me. It just kind of happened, right? And before I knew it, I was so sick and in so much pain that I couldn't bear it. I started getting suicidal. I started getting depressed. I had gained a bunch of weight. I was getting massive migraines to the point where like I couldn't control them. I could take 2 Tylenol and it wouldn't do anything. I would take an Advil or two, and then my stomach would hurt. And so I was like, I didn't even have many solutions for me to use at the time. So migraines, stomach pains, stuffy nose, and like a lot of just the mucus in my nose. Um, so then I started seeing doctors. I went to the Western facilities and I said, hey, I am in pain. I'm in a lot of pain. My stomach hurts like right here. And I have this vitiligo still. And, I'm getting migraines and I have these like boogers and bloody noses all the time and sinus infections. Like, what is going on? So they took my labs, and I was 28 or 29 years old. And my cholesterol, for those of you that understand cholesterol and the number, um, it was 370 when I was 29 years old. I was the second highest cholesterol in the office, and the first highest was an obese man in his 70s. And so I was like, I don't know what to do. And the doctor also said, well, you're pre-diabetic, you're pre-heart disease, you're pre-thyroid, you have a fatty liver, and your adrenals don't look so healthy. And I'm like, am I dying? Like, what's going on? And so they started to do tests. So they started to do CAT scans, MRIs, ultrasounds for where the pain was occurring. So I was getting migraines. They did it, they did it for my head, my nose, my stomach. This general area was always tight. Then I would complain about pain in my lower intestines, and my hip was getting tight. And of course, all these tests showed that there was nothing there. But I was like, well, the labs are wrong. Something's got to be wrong. Like something's not right, right? And so they wanted to put me on an antidepressant to help with my depression and suicidal thoughts. They wanted to put me on a proton pump inhibitor to help with my gut, and they said that it was GERD and acidity that was causing my issues. And then they wanted to put me on a cholesterol med, like a Lipitor, basically, to lower my cholesterol. Now, I paused for a second and I said, I don't want to do any of this. How about I just fix my lifestyle first and foremost, and fix my diet? Let me get back into exercise, and maybe I'll take some herbs. And that was the beginning of my journey. The first thing I realized was that this is perhaps a spiritual thing. I went to go see Wayne Dyer, actually. And Wayne Dyer, actually, I remember him being on stage, and he goes, sometimes we surround ourselves with things around us in our material world that we think we need, but we don't really need. And when we get to that level, it's very hard for us to get rid of that stuff. We become attached to that stuff, and it's the material world that brings us happiness. So I'm like, is this guy like talking to me? Like, am I the only one in this audience? But it felt like the message was for me. So I started to get back into meditation. I started to get back into all of these kinds of modalities that I knew I used to feel good. So exercise, eating properly, and meditation. Those are the first three things that I started. And I went down that path. And along that path, I got rid of my companies. So I sold all the companies, and I said, I'm not doing this. This is the reason why. I was having a bad time with my business partner, and employees were quitting. And it's because I wasn't present with what was happening in the company. So I pushed the reset button, got rid of the companies, sold whatever I could, and broke up with my business partner, and literally just went boom. this is what I need to do. So I took about a year off, traveled the world, went to Bali, did some yoga there and meditating there, went to India, and I was just kind of inspired, saying like, you know, I should just do what I love. I didn't really love the software business. It was just a good way to make money, to be honest with you. And it was making money. And so why would you ever stop something like that, right? And so here I was, no income, no job, no nothing, and watching the bank account dwindle. And I'm like, oh my God, I got to figure out what to do. Even though I've made all this money, I don't have anything to show for it. You know, my bank account was zero, like not zero, but getting there, because I sold the company and I had to pay everyone off that where the debt was. And by the end of it, there was not much left. So I was like, oh my God. So what I did was I said, I'm going to start doing what I love. And what I loved was ancient wisdom. Even when I worked in my software company, I was reading the Vedas, I was reading the Bhagavad Gita, I was researching Ayurveda, and I was just curious. More than anything else, I was like, wow, there's so much wisdom in these books. Like, there's something to the wisdom of our ancients. And so I really took that on, and I started to shoot a documentary about about Mahabharata and Dwarka, which is a lost civilization off the west coast of India, and that was in 2012. When I was finished with that documentary, I said, you know, I want to shoot a documentary on Ayurveda, and the reason why is because by that point, this is around 2012, I had tried exercise, I was eating a better diet, I had lost like 5 to 10 pounds, but guess what? The migraines were still there. My stomach was still killing me. I would still get bloody noses. My labs were still not complete. They were going down, but they were not where I wanted them to be. So I said, you know what? Meditation's great. Exercise is great. Green juicing and eating proper foods is great. It's still not fixing what's wrong with me. And by this time, I'm still seeing the Western doctors too, and kind of going to the integrative clinics, and they're like, try some red rice yeast and try this, and, you know, try all these different things. And none of them were really working out for me. And so the pain just continued. And at some point, I normalized the pain because I was drinking, and I was just doing things to numb the pain away. But as I started meditating and as I started exercising, all those kind of bad habits started to subside, all the smoking and all of that kind of stuff. And so what I realized what it was is like, okay, well, if the smoking and the drinking is not getting rid of this and I improved my health, I surrendered to Ayurveda. And I said, there's only one answer now. I tried acupuncture and I tried all these other things. In fact, I remember going to the acupuncturist one day, and I was so inflamed that he would put the needles in and they would actually pop out because my skin was so tight and I was so inflamed. There was so much amma stuck in between my muscles and my skin, and it was just liquid. It was like hard liquid, basically. And I was just so inflamed that the needles were popping out. And he's like, I've never seen anything like this. He's like, I've never seen the needles pop out. He's like, you must be very stressed out. And I was like, I don't know. I feel kind of stressed out. And so it was like all these like question marks, you know? In 2013, I went for my first Panchakarma, and I brought a film crew with me. And I said, I need you to film the doctors that are going to do Panchakarma on me, because I want to hear what they have to say to you, and then of course what they're going to say to me. So I went to Panchakarma and I did an 8-day Panchakarma. And of course there's a pre Panchakarma kind of protocol and a post Panchakarma protocol. So technically 21-day Panchakarma, but 8 days of treatment. And I remember feeling like really good. I was like, wow, my pain is kind of subsiding. I feel a little better here. And it can't be just Panchakarma and meditation. And so I was like that for about a month or so. And then all of a sudden started tanking again. And the sinus infections came back, and the migraines came back, and the stomach pains came back. And I was like, oh my God, like what is going on? And so I started taking supplements, started drinking some more teas, Ayurvedic teas. And so what I realized is that over the next 4 years, I got very healthy. I started losing weight. I started feeling better, but I would still get the migraines. I would still be in pain. My body would be in so much pain, and I would still get these sinus infections. So I ended up getting surgery because I didn't know what was wrong with my nose. And like When I say mucus, I mean mucus from the minute I woke up till I went to sleep, that I could keep blowing my nose and more would come out. And I didn't know where it was coming from. My mom, my dad, my sister, my wife at the time was like, what is wrong? Like, where is this mucus even coming from? And I was like, I was joking. I was like, I think my brain is melting. And that's what I told them. I didn't know what was wrong with me. And it just continued to get worse. So from 2012 through 2016, we filmed a good amount of doctors. I would say close to not just doctors, but doctors, scientists, experts, people like Deepak Chopra. We went to the TM Center in Iowa. We sorry, that was a little bit later. We ended up filming a lot. Mimi Guarnari, Mark Halpern, and all these experts on Ayurveda. And while I was gaining wisdom, I still didn't know what was wrong with me. I was like, please, like one of these people are going to tell me what's wrong with me. So 2016 comes around, and actually I was so sick, I had to put the movie on the shelf. I put it on hold. I told my wife that I'm dying and that there's nothing that's going to be there to fix me. I said, there's nothing that's going to fix me. I said, this is it. And so what happened is the left side of my body, all the amma started to accumulate on the left side of my body. So my left eye wouldn't function. It wouldn't move all the way to the left anymore without extreme pain. My neck, so I couldn't move my head, like, see how most people, I can do this? I couldn't do that. I would be up to here and I'd feel extreme pain on the side over here. It started to build up along the side into my hip and into my pelvic area here. In fact, this side, you can knock on it and you can hear something was hard in there. And I didn't know what was going on. I got surgery. Like I said, they said, oh, you have a deviated septum. So I got deviated septum surgery. Guess what? Snot still kept coming out. And in fact, it made it worse because I was getting sinus infections with the deviated septum surgery. And so it never actually healed for 2 years. My suture never actually healed. And I would go back to the doctor and say, this is not healing. Like, whatever you did, you have to fix. And they're like, oh, it looks fine. Just keep doing neti pot. You'll be okay. And I'm like, that is not the answer to this problem. And so I would be in bed by 6:30, 7 o'clock every night. I had 2 young kids and I couldn't even help around the family. And my wife was just like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm sick. I don't know what's wrong with me. I wish I could tell you. And no one else knows the answers. This is like a mystery illness, and I'd hate to say this, but I was kind of on my way out. When I got my labs in 2016, 2017, it showed I had pre-thyroid and diabetes. Like, I was on the verge of getting diabetes, and I'm like, I'm eating healthy now, people. Like, how can this be possible? Like, do you want me to eat salads all day? Like, I don't understand. And it was tough. It was really tough on me and the family. And I had given up at that point. I said, I'm dying. I put the movie on the shelf and I said, this is my life, and I'm sorry. And that's what I did. And in 2018, I got invited to India to go interview some doctors for the film there. And I was like, okay, this is another chance for me to figure out what's wrong with me. So I went to India. Actually, I see Dr. Vijay Jain is on this call. We filmed him in India. And he was there, and I was still trying to figure out what was wrong with me while I was actually there. It was 2017, I believe. And on that trip, I ended up going to a business seminar. And at the business seminar was a genetic test. And I was like, yeah, I've never done a genetic test. Let me take a genetic test. So I take the genetic test. And I get home, I'm still like sick. And I'm like, oh my God, that trip killed me. Like, in India, you have naan and you have all this other stuff. And I was just like so sick, and I was eating a lot, and I didn't know what was wrong with me. Again, didn't know what was wrong with me. I get home from that trip and I get a call from the genetic test company, because they do a like an analysis, and then they tell you what your chart, or not your chart, but your genetic profile is telling us. So when they got on the call with me, heart disease does run in my family. So they're like, oh, 1.2x likely to get heart disease. If you eat well and you exercise, you won't get it. Thyroid, same thing. Diabetes, same thing. I was like, whoa, I knew that this was in my family. And so, okay, I understand that, but why are my levels high if I'm following all the rules, right? How much more exercise can I do? How much better can I eat? How many more herbs can I stick into my diet, you know? And so when I found out what was wrong with me, it was actually celiac disease. So they found a genetic marker that I have celiac disease and that it was 5.6x likely active in my body. So heart disease, thyroid, diabetes between 1.1 and 1.5x. This was 5.6x. They measure the epigenetics of how expressed the gene was, and my celiac gene was almost fully expressed. And they're like, have you tried cutting out gluten? And I was like, besides panchakarma, not really. When I found out that, I stopped eating gluten, and I found out I had 8 to 12 ulcers in my body. Some of them were so big, like this one right here. You can, if I lifted up my shirt, you can actually still see the scar tissue. It was so big, it was coming out of my body, the ulcer. And that ulcer and all the other 7 other ulcers or 8 other ulcers that were along my intestinal tract and in my stomach were all leaking ama. And that's what was creating all of this kind of like hard stuff on the side of my body. And so, yes, it was turning into cancer. My white blood cells were highly elevated. I was in inflammation. I had malnutrition. So I had, if you check the boxes, I had all of them, pre-thyroid, pre-diabetic, pre-heart disease, a little bit of a fatty liver. And then I had all these weird issues with my body not working. And so it was a miracle, to say the least. I got a second lease at life. By that time, the celiac and the gluten had done so much damage to my body. Gluten comes in everything, from cake to soy sauce to beer to, the list goes on and on and on. Naan, roti, everything that I was eating, even as a kid growing up, spaghetti, pizza, pasta, lasagna. You name it, gluten's in it. And I stopped eating it, and I was about 60 days in, and I was like, holy crap, I feel good. Something feels right. But I would still get migraines, and I would still get sinus infections. My body felt good. I wasn't in that much pain, but I would still get these random sinus infections and migraines. So then I started to go see Ayurvedic practitioners again and did a panchakarma for my 3rd or 4th time at that point. And we went on a very strict protocol. We cut out dairy, we cut out coffee, we cut out alcohol, we cut out some other things that were kind of like inflammatory type things, and went to a basically like a strict kind of like FODMAP-ish diet. And that worked. And I used all the protocols of Ayurveda to rebuild my gut, heal the ulcers, and turn it around. So that was in 2021. 2018 when I found out. And for the next, until now, it's 2023, I've been literally just working on reversing all of that. So I got my yoga certification. I told my team that you're running the business. I was like, I'm out of the business. You guys are running it. I need 0 stress in my life. And so all during like 2018, 2019, 2020, and 2021, I was just doing yoga. I was exercising. I was eating my diet that I need to follow, rebuilding my gut, and doing all the protocols to heal and nurture my gut back to health. And it worked. It took me a while, and it took me a lot of pain to get through, but I did it. And in 2021, 3.5 years after I found out what was wrong with me, I remember sitting in meditation in this room, actually, on that couch. And I was just like sitting in meditation, and I had a smile on my face, and I was smiling ear to ear. And I thought to myself, I don't have any pain in my body. And I was like, oh my God, I can't even remember the last time I didn't have pain in my body, or didn't have a sinus infection, or didn't have a runny nose, or didn't have a migraine, or didn't have my back killing me or my chest killing me. I felt good and happy and whole. And I was like, oh my God, this is because of Ayurveda. And Ayurveda saved my life. It was because I stuck the journey out with Ayurveda that it gave it back to me, that I ended up just fixing myself. And of course, the genetic test, that was huge for me. But it was on my journey of Ayurveda. I was filming on that trip. So it was my journey of Ayurveda that actually healed me. And in 2021, I said, oh my God, I have to finish this film. I have to finish this film. And so there I was in 2021, right around the time COVID was ending and things were kind of opening back up. I should say the lockdowns were ending. And I was like, holy crap, sorry, I didn't mean to use that, but I was just like, this is it. And I called my editor and I said, you remember those 40 people that we interviewed over the last 8 years? We need to finish this film. And he said, absolutely, we need to finish this film. And so we spent the last 2 years finishing this film. And we now have 40 different experts, scientists, doctors, influencers, experts, boards of the NIH, ex-boards of the NIH. I mean, all kinds of amazing people in this film. And we're finally getting ready to release it. And I'm just so grateful to be alive, to share this with people and actually get the word out about Ayurveda. And all along this journey, I was actually part of NAMA too, because I'm like, maybe someone at NAMA is going to have the answer for me. So I'd volunteer on the committees. I was even on the board of NAMA for 3 years now, and all of it was because like I just had so much belief that Ayurveda was going to save my life. I didn't know how, I didn't know when, but I had faith that it was going to like heal me. And so for me, this project has just been it's like a lifelong kind of passion. Yes, I mean, I wouldn't say lifelong, but 10 years is a big chunk of my life, a quarter of my life almost. I'm 43. And, when people look at me now, they're like, oh my God, you look like younger than you did when you were 25. Like you look like you're glowing. And I'm like, really? I look like I'm glowing? Like, and so it's really cool to hear that from people and get that recognition. And I'm like, this makes me want to do it more. It makes me want to spread the message more. When I hear that people don't know what Ayurveda is, the people that I ran across during my recording, the actual patients, and listening to the patients who healed themselves from stage 4 cancer, who healed themselves from thyroid, who healed themselves from diabetes, who healed themselves from all kinds of ailments, I was like, Ayurveda is the answer. It is the answer to almost all of the world's health issues that we can't figure out, or it's a mystery illness, or it's an autoimmune, and there's nothing we can do about this autoimmune condition, of course. And I find that to be complete bullshit, pardon my language. And I'm still young, and I have the energy to put all of my experience into this from a marketing perspective, from an entrepreneur perspective, and everything I've ever done to push this film to the masses, because that's become my journey. And so, you know how the saying goes is turn your biggest adversity into your biggest compliment, or whatever that saying is. And that's what I want to do. That's really what I am looking to do here with the documentary. So I'll pause there, and I'm sure there might be some questions, and any other feedback is welcome. But yeah, that's kind of the story. And we have this big launch coming up, and we're looking at streaming rights on super amazing streaming platforms, and we have this telehealth thing that we're doing, and just so blessed to be in this position. So thank you.
What an inspiration you are. This is just so fascinating. And the fact that you are now sharing all this, and your documentary is launching when?
August 8th. I just popped the website into the chat. If you want to watch the trailer, there's a trailer there.
Excellent.
And you can get more information, and you'll be updated as to when the documentary comes out.
Excellent.
And you can see some of the speakers in there, because I saw someone wanted to know some of the speakers in the movie.
I know there are probably a lot of questions. We'll open it up right now. Anyone? I know I can tell there are a few people that want to find out more.
So Dr. Vijay Jain we were at Green's Ayurveda. Yeah. And,
so the question was,
you can probably unmute, maybe. Okay.
Yeah, I remember now. We were at Greens Ayurveda in Kerala.
Yeah. Yeah, and then we filmed you, Dr. Shekhar, and then the owner of that location.
Yeah, what is his name? Doctor. It come to me in a minute.
Yeah, I forgot as well. But yeah, we met there, and that's when we filmed you. You're in the movie, by the way.
Okay. Yeah, actually, Greens Ayurveda's owner, his birthday was just last week. So I sent him a message. I'm forgetting his name.
Yeah. Yeah, great.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful.
Thank you.
Please just jump in if you have any comments or questions of Amish.
Dr. Asgar.
Yeah, yes. Oscar. Okay, I think let's see, Pratibha, I think your hand is up.
Yes. Well, thank you for sharing your amazing story. I'm sure it'll serve as an inspiration to a lot of people and will probably authenticate Ayurveda as a health science quite a bit. We were just talking before we started recording. I think when had we met? 7, 8, 9 years ago, probably.
Something like that. When I first started doing the film, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So over the years, I have watched your, in snippets, your journey on Facebook. You had launched a product line. I remember maybe that was
Yeah.
one of the companies you
I actually had
told.
to shut that down because I was so sick that I couldn't run it. So
Right. And then I think your wife came out with a book also.
just recently.
Recently, yeah. So I feel I didn't know the details of what was going on. I knew you were a little compromised health-wise because I think I had seen your post in Ayurveda board review also a couple times.
Maybe I posted a few things like, hey, if you had these symptoms, what would you do?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So I feel after listening to your entire story, this is actually a great example of how the medicine of future might look, because I think it's a success of integrative approach. Because if your gene testing was not done and those things were not revealed to you, I think that would have, I have no idea if you were in continuous treatment under an Ayurvedic practitioner or not in the years prior to the gene testing.
Unfortunately, no. It was always like panchakarma, then done, panchakarma, then done, panchakarma, then done, so it was never ongoing. Yeah.
No one told you that?
No.
Yeah, you needed to be under the care of somebody ongoing because panchakarma is part of treatment. It's not the entire treatment. But I'm sure the gene testing informed the protocol, whoever you consulted later on. It's mind-blowing how little Western medicine can respond in such situations and not have answers for the patient. Whereas Ayurveda can start at the very center of all the issues, which is Agni, Ama, and giving rest to the gut, what we call the entire spectrum of gut, which would be Agni, the microbiome and everything. So I think the modern variables have to be taken into account, the modification of food and how it alters and stresses our guts like never before. And those things have to be taken into account. And you need like the comprehensive plan. You need the herbs, but you also need to reduce the ongoing stress on the gut. Yeah.
Yeah, while the doctors couldn't tell me what was wrong with me, Ayurvedic practitioners, of course, were like, well, you're very elevated pitta. So that made more sense than we don't know what's wrong, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, all the ulcers and the congestions, root cause analysis. Basically, that is what Ayurveda brings to the table. So I think this can be a great film to watch for
Thank
everybody
you.
to see in real time.
Yeah, and the way I kind of positioned the film was that it's from a Western perspective, from my story, from growing up in America, not knowing what was going on, rather than just education. Just here's a bunch of doctors telling you what Ayurveda is. Like, let's take away that and put a little bit of entertainment, almost, if you will, into the subject, so that people actually respect it and can understand it from an emotional perspective, not just from a mental perspective.
Intellectual. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for
Thank
sharing.
you. So here's a
Thank you,
question.
Amish. This is Aparna Bapat, and very wonderful to watch you and listen to your whole story. Really inspiring, amazing. And as Dr. Jain and Dr. Pratibha was also mentioning, it's not just, you were healing yourself at a physical level, you were also prioritizing what was important in your life. So Ayurveda being like the science of life came like full circle to you in making those choices, what is important and
Yeah,
what we really need to focus on and what can give us that wholesomeness. You want to be happy when you're earning your money and
correct.
also give that value to what way you're earning your money. So I guess it's a lot of things to learn, not just the Ayurvedic treatment part, but a lot of the philosophy that comes with it. And I would really recommend the program committee for NCAM to, have this opportunity for you one more time with the live audience that we will have at the
Yeah,
NCAM conference in Orlando. So that would be great. And I guess by that time, your movie would have just come out. So a lot of people will have many more questions to ask you. And if you are going to be present there live,
I will try. I will definitely try my
yes,
best.
yeah, that would be really great because then you can interact one-on-one with all our audience. And if I will take this opportunity to just share with everyone that we have a great conference coming in October 27, 28, and 29. If you guys have any of the attendees in this webinar have not yet registered or gone on our website, then please do so. It is ncamusa.org. And you will have all the information. The theme is Ayurveda Beyond Wellness. So as Amish was sharing to us, a lot of things that that can be more therapeutic and curative and treat the actual problems that somebody may have that have not been diagnosed or treated with any other system. So we are going to talk and discuss with eminent speakers from India, from USA, and a lot of great mingling of like-minded people is going to happen there. So I really wish everybody to sign up for this conference. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree. And going back to your point of, it's beyond wellness. It's beyond just the physical. For me, like I said, it was about making money, and it didn't matter how I made it. Even if I was miserable and hated all my employees, I would stick through it, right? And it was just one of those things that I did. I hated my business partner, but we would still work together, right? So that was a big part of it. In fact, that part of it took me a long time to reverse, was my identity. And what was my identity? My identity was tied up in being this rich entrepreneur that lived with a big house and all this stuff. Now I have a regular house, regular cars, everything. But like at the time, I didn't, it took me a while to digress from that. And so it's important. And so now it feels like I'm in alignment, right? I finished the documentary, and the more people I tell, the more people are like, yes, 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 let's go, let's go. And I feel like now I see the magic of where life is supposed to take you. So I wanted to just touch upon.
Amish, it is
what
so
you-
nice to meet you. My name is Sujata Reddy. I'm the president of the Colorado Ayurveda Association. And guess what? We are screening your documentary in our conference,
Yeah, I heard, yes.
September 29th. So I'm looking forward to that. And we have a very focused conference on trauma-informed Ayurveda. So that's going to be, very, very well received. I think your documentary is such a highlight. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm seeing such great response from the film. Trauma is another piece that I didn't touch upon too much in the movie due to the sensitivity of some of it, but I experienced household trauma when I was a kid with my father. So that also led to some of this as well, but didn't get too much involved in that in the movie.
So regarding the conference, I have shared the website for the Orlando, Florida conference. I think Rachel was asking, Rachel. All details will continue to be posted there, Rachel. The speakers are posted right now so far. So please do have a look. Yeah, please do register. This is going to be one of a kind. But I also wanted to say, Amish, that your movie will tell people what could have been Steve Jobs again, but did not end up that road.
Yeah, no, I think it's important. And one of the questions I see in the chat is celiac is rare, but how did the doctors not consider it? So this is the most interesting, and I find it funny now in hindsight. I find it horrible, but I find it funny. I had doctors tell me to my face that there was no way I was allergic to gluten. They said there's no way. One of the doctors sent me to a rheumatologist because he thought that's what was wrong with my hands. My knuckles would all turn black. All my knuckles were black, and I couldn't move my hands so freely anymore, and I was in pain. So they sent me to my rheumatologist, and then she's like, "No way. There's no way you're allergic to gluten." And then I went to go see an allergist. The allergist told me that there's no way I'm allergic to gluten. So if these doctors are telling me I'm not allergic to gluten, that's why no one decided to give me the test. And you know, it's sad. It's actually sad. Again, I find it funny, but not in a good way. I find it funny that they don't do this stuff. Yeah, so that's the last question. And as far as the event is concerned, I'm very excited. I hope we get to screen the movie and I get to talk about it. And this will be my first event, but you have some amazing speakers. I'm excited about that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for helping to spread Ayurveda, because you're going to do your part, and all of us on this call and all of the members of all the associations that we all belong to, that's our goal. And you're doing it it seems it's not very simply. You're doing it in a way that meshes with who you are. And we're all still searching for the best ways that we can spread the word of Ayurveda. We try to educate the public. We try to hold conferences. We do everything that we can think of, and we're always open to other ideas. So if you, from your vantage point, can think of anything that we should be doing differently, better, more of, we're always open to suggestions.
Definitely. A way that we can support, which we are doing, is if you send us your logo, we'll put it on our website. So that anyone that comes to the website during our launch and during our movie, they can find out all the organizations we're supporting. So NAMA being one, Kolarama being another one, Florida, this organization could be another one, Chopra Foundation. We support all these organizations. So a percentage of our profits will go to these organizations to help them. So please send me a logo and a link that you would like me to link, and I will put it on the website.
That's very generous. Thank you. Well, anyone else have any comments or questions? I think that I don't see any further. Thank you so much. This has energized all of us, I can tell. the way that you present your story, I'm sure will come out in the documentary. It'll have your touch on it. So we can't wait to see it.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for everyone on this call for doing the work also. You know, you're doing the on the ground work, most of you, you know, and that is very important also. Without the practitioners, there is no Ayurveda. So
Well, hopefully someday there'll be Ayurveda food drive-throughs. Can you imagine that?
yeah. I mean, I think it's gonna happen. I think we're onto something, and I really feel the support we're getting for this film from mainstream people, mainstream actors and actresses. We have Nike's official yoga athlete that's supporting us. Alo Yoga, the athletic company supporting us. We're trying to get Lululemon and Viore involved. So this is not just a Ayurveda thing. I want to branch it to yoga and get everyone in yoga involved. So that's my mission, is to get that whole audience over and interested.
And you'll do it.
I hope with of course everyone on this call's help and everyone in the organization as well. So I cannot do it alone. That's all I know. So.
Well, thank you very much for your time again, and we're very honored. And everyone, thank you for being a part of our enjoyable visit with Amish. Thank you so much. And
Okay,
everyone, have a good night.
thanks, you too. Bye. Thanks.
Namaste.
Right.